So next question on the agenda is, what era, like timeline, do you think had the best wrestling going on, the best stories, best kind of matches? So, for example, I kind of broke it down into a few because I was watching a lot then. Obviously, I'm watching WCW, I'm watching WWF/E, TNA, ECW. So, for WWE, probably the Attitude Era that they had was probably one of their best times due to the fact that they had a lot of superstars. The wrestling was really good. The stories were good. Obviously, the talent they had, which leads me to my next point. There was also in the Monday Night War, which we probably could do like a special on anyway. I mean, people have covered that anyway, but we can do our own take on it. But then the WCW with the NWO kind of era, what I call it. So when Hogan took over as Hollywood Hogan, brought the NWO in there, and they were feuding with WCW, and obviously the Monday Night Wars with WWE. I think that was a really good time. For ECW, I've got like 95 to early 2000s. So this is kind of when it sort of like majorly kicked off, when you had like Taz starting off in there, RVD, your Sabu, your Raven, you know, Sandman, all that lot. So many good matches if you were in that sort of style of the hardcore sort of scene. This is when Paul Heyman was like kind of co-owner, and you had like Joey Styles on the commentary, which I think was amazing. And then TNA, I got into that quite early, mid 2000s to late 2000s. I think was some of the best time. Yet again, going back to what we said, this is when you had like, you know, the AJ, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, and then people like Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, all that lot. Just so many good wrestlers, Samoa Joe. And then they kind of developed the Suicide character, and just like the X Division in total, and just like the main events. And then obviously you still had people like Sting involved, Kurt Angle, Christian, which was Christian Cage back then in TNA. Like just really good wrestling, really good timeline, really good stories. So that's what I've got down. What about you guys?
I think the era I started watching and stuff, it's got to be the Attitude Era. The amount of good storylines, the amount of main event caliber stars, good quality matches. There's a lot of stuff that no one had ever seen before. Like they pushed the boundaries, they pushed the button, so to speak. That was really enjoyable. And a lot of stars came after the Attitude Era. Obviously, they were made in the Attitude Era and then went on to become bigger stars in the future. But
Yeah,
like you said with TNA, there was a time period, I don't know the years to be specific, but like the AJ Styles, Daniels, Joe, them that sort of era where them triple matches were going on, that they were fantastic. They were on top of their game. That's probably when TNA peaked.
Yeah, that was like mid to late 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah, they were really good to watch. And that used to be on the channel. I can't remember. It might have been 5 USA, something silly like that. So that was easy to watch for us in the UK.
Yeah.
Where WWE have always been, you have to pay extra a month for Sky Sports or BT Sports now. But no, they were very good times, and we didn't realise at the time they were good times, as well as good as they would be. And it's, brilliant time.
Yeah, mine's pretty much the same as Jake's. Like pretty much spot on. Like, yeah, we both grew up around the Attitude Era, and you know that so went on to like that Ruthless Aggression era and stuff like that. But yeah, there were like heavy hitters and your technicians, and as we said earlier, the belt could literally go to anyone. With TNA, I first got introduced to TNA like I was out of work, and so it was literally I had a routine of just getting up, like just watching telly, and then I'm flicking through the channels, whatever. It was either Challenge or Bravo. I feel Bravo, but yeah, like
I think it was Challenge. Now you said Challenge, I feel like it was Challenge.
Yeah, I don't know if it moved over from Bravo to Challenge because Bravo, of course, like closed or was shut down. But yeah. I came in literally around that era of TNA where it was a case of you did have, as you said, like you had AJ Styles and your Samoa Joes and like Mr. Kennedy's and stuff like that, and Suicide and Abyss and Awesome Kong in there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought about Abyss. Yeah, you had like Abyss, and then you had like the original LAX, which was Homicide and Hernandez. Really two big names in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was because at that point I was kind of out of wrestling. Didn't really have a following for it. I knew like I had kind of I had an interest, but I just didn't have the means of seeing it or watching it or anything like that. And then when I found it on Bravo. It was a case of, oh well, now here's a new show for free that I can watch, which has all this, you know, quality talent still, just on like a smaller scale, and I was pretty chuffed with that. So yeah, but I was literally dug in at that time when, you know, Sting was there, Kurt Angle came in soon after, and you had your Jeff Hardys and stuff like there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was good to have some of the bigger stars there that you remember, kind of thing, because they always want to dabble in a new company, or like they help promote it or push it, or, you know, just get some views going. But definitely TNA had one of them time periods where you're looking at, it said like the Styles, Daniels, Joe era, just like you just see talent in all of them and all the matches they put on, whether it's a one-on-one, a triple threat, an X Division match. And plus another thing that made TNA unique was the six-sided ring, which was again a unique thing. It was like some people might be like, oh, that it was, they didn't like it. It was like, oh, it's not much different, but it just added a little element to it that it made it a bit more exciting sort of thing. So definitely some good stuff there. Next one is, what is some of the high points and low points in each company that you used to watch, or whatever sort of era you used to watch in? So I've written a couple of notes down here like usual. In WCW, probably the highest point was like the big NWO Monday Night Wars segment. I mean, they were doing really well before that, but I mean, they peaked at that time. ECW, yet again, that sort of late 90s, early 2000s, with just basically just crazy over the top matches with, you know, any one of the superstars in there. Just they were like pushing the limits to the best they can. TNA, yet again, X Division, just new up and coming stars, just like pushing the limits, working, you know, the ring and just doing really well. NXT, like WWE making the NXT, I think was a really good shout. Definitely got a lot of good talent coming to NXT, a lot of opportunities for people, and yet again, sort of like, you know, when you had the prime, where it was on WCW, ECW, WWE, like NXT always had such a good segment of like talented wrestlers, always good matches. You could always tune in, and 90% of the time, you'd have a better watch of NXT than you would the Raw or SmackDown. You could just guarantee this is going to be more entertaining or something happening. So that's some of the high points that I've got. What about you guys?
George?
Yeah, basically pretty much the same. Like, your high points are, of course, like, you know, when Attitude Era's had all your, that was more of a case of, oh well, you know, we're branding to like an older audience. So I feel like anything that's branded to an older audience is kind of always getting a bit more of a push on, like, or a bit more popular. Just because you know, you can look at what they're serving today, and or around the Ruthless Aggression era, or anything what you want to call that, you know, it's a family kind of event and family watching. But if you're like me, you want to see something a bit more quirky, you want to get a bit more like involved, a bit more, you know, risque or something. But I feel anything like that. Sorry. Anything that's kind of R-rated, as if it is high.
What about you, Jake?
I think AEW emerging was a high point. It has to make everyone else up their game, and shows you a lot more new superstars that you might not see, because obviously New Japan isn't the easiest thing to watch on your telly this side of the pond. So people would have heard of Young Bucks, formerly Generation Me. They would have heard of Omega, and they would have heard of Hangman Page, but they might not have ever seen them. And Ray Phoenix, Pentagon. I know they was in TNA, but if you weren't watching TNA, you wouldn't know of them. Same as Luchasaurus. So that starting AEW was a good thing. Like what you said, NXT, WWE starting that was a really good moment, because the amount of talent that's coming through NXT, then this is another debate for another time. But then when they're moving up to the main roster, that's a different story. But it gives you, like, I think what George said, when NXT gives you that sort of edge back where fans of the Attitude Era watched it, and it seems a bit, it's not as PG, it's a bit more risky, so to speak. So and obviously I don't think you can knock WWE charity work regarding, like, see the video a few years ago of Connor's Cure, the young kid who Daniel Bryan sort of took.
Oh yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that's a major plus for anyone. And that's yeah, I didn't really think about this one too much. I didn't think it'd be that deep, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be like moments in any kind of like era of wrestling that are going to be like high points of like it could be certain matches, it could be certain wrestlers at the time, but just overall, I think like the high points of what you said, like you got your NWO era, you had the like Attitude era, obviously the whole forming of NXT was really good. Obviously TNA had their X division, which was, I mean, yeah, again in WCW had like the cruiserweight division, and then in WWF/E, you never really had a cruiserweight, but that was kind of always like European title, maybe like the Intercontinental Champion, like the smaller people sort of thing. But always going to have like good matches overall. As for like some lower points in like history, for me personally, I've got like WWE buys at WCW because yeah, again, I was a really big fan of WCW. A lot of my favorite wrestlers come from there and was wrestling there. Seeing that go was gutting because a lot of wrestlers either at the time went out of work for a while or they went to, like I said, things like Ring of Honor or New Japan, which at the time I couldn't broadcast, couldn't get anywhere in the UK to watch. So like I was missing out on their matches. Hogan, Bischoff, and Flair with the Dixie Carter TNA takeover, or you know when they took over the company, just even yet again like they were trying to push it. It's like, oh, Hogan's in there, Flair's in there, we're going to push the new talent kind of thing. But if you ever watched it during that time, like Hogan and Bischoff, every episode was getting like more and more airtime. Then there was like less and less matches, and some of the wrestlers that were like, you know, cards kind of thing, like didn't get their matches, and they just personally I think run it into the ground. And like, I was just sick and tired of just listening to Hogan in the office chat shit on the phone, or Bischoff in the ring making up some bullshit, and then Ric Flair coming out having his moan. That done me in. With WWE, some of the lower points for me, I was a massive fan, still am, of CM Punk. I thought at that time, just before he kind of made it big in, like, I mean, he was in ECW, Ring of Honor, then he came over to like WWE, and I've always followed his career since like I sort of back in Ring of Honor at the time, even in TNA for a little bit, then onto like obviously ECW, then into like main Raw. I really loved that timeline that he was in it. I mean, there was a few other wrestlers I was still watching, but mainly I'd watch it for him. I thought his matches were always good. I think he was great on the mic. He was just a privilege to watch. But when he left, kind of thing, yeah, again, it was that stint of I sort of stopped really following WWE. Like, I mean, I keep up with some of the events going on, but I wouldn't watch it regularly because where he wasn't there, that kind of took it away from me. Like, it was one big thing that drew me to that. And then just the repetitive of like around that time, it was always recycling the same wrestlers. So it was someone and Randy Orton, someone and John Cena, someone and Triple H, and then back to someone and Cena, so to Randy Orton, back to Triple H. It's just recycling constantly the same matches over and over again. It's just getting boring for me. Then thinking a bit later on, the Raw, what's it called? I got it down somewhere. Oh, the Raw Underground that Shane O'Mac made a little while ago. Don't know what they were thinking about that. I think they try to capitalize, as George said earlier, about the UFC, sort of where that was really getting popular again and people watching that more so than wrestling. They thought they'd capitalize on that. I thought that was a bad fucking shout. Annoying things like the Raw anonymous general manager on the laptop and things like that. I mean, I don't know what was going on there. I don't know what they were thinking. Just absolute nonsense. And one thing that's always really bothered me in any kind of company is unmasking wrestlers. What is that about? What is the big hype about? Like, oh, I want to see what he looks like. Let's have a mask versus mask match, or like, a hair versus mask match, or something like. I've again like, I'm asking Rey Mysterio, I'm asking Kane, like just for a few examples. It's like I don't think you ever get anything out of it, and like I'd always prefer them people to be not unmasked. Like it kind of adds to their character. Than when you kind of see them, just kind of like, oh, okay. Like for me personally, like once Kane got unmasked, like he never was the same. And then people say like, oh yeah, but he was getting older, and like they were kind of like pushing the new talent. But still, just like now, once I see his face, I was just like, I don't care no more. Like you've lost your image.
Yeah,
It's not the same
just about to
character.
say that. The minute Kane got his mask off, he lost something, and yeah, it should never have happened at all.
No. I mean, going back, like I was watching WCW when Rey Mysterio was first in that, and there was a couple of times he got unmasked in that, and then mask came back on, went to other promotions, and I'm pretty sure in WWE's timeline he's had an unmasked match or been unmasked a handful of times, and I just never see the point of it. It's just something. It's just like it doesn't make the match any better. It doesn't make it more exciting. Like people are like, oh my god, I want to see his face. It's like, but he's lost his kind of image now, sort of thing. It's like lose his character.
They still done it last year on Draw Day, wasn't it? Done it or something like that when they had like a feud just after we come back from the Royal Rumble. Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, you're right.
They kind of fixed him in with like another Latino guy, and it's a case of, oh, what should we do? I know, just take his mask off again. Like, why? I don't understand. I don't know if it's a case of like WWE or not just WWE, but if they don't understand the heritage of it.
Yeah,
because like when you watch something like AAA wrestling, which is like the Lucha,
the Lucha Underground stuff like that, yeah.
You know, they're pretty adamant to like, you know, that's their career, that's their life. So I don't know if it's a case they don't understand the whole point of it, or if they don't, you know, it's something they can't control, of course, because it's their character, or it's that persona they've decided to live off of for the rest of their life. But yeah, I just don't understand why they do it either.
Yeah, so another couple that just popped to mind is like that sort of late 90s WCW, people like Hoover Tooth Guerrero and Psychosis and LA Parker, like eventually they all kind of had like, you know, unmasked matches or sort of thing, and just like it just lost its kind of appeal to that character, like once they kind of got taken off, and it was like, okay. I mean, not to knock them that they were still good wrestlers, but just it's always a mystery of like, you know, you don't know who's behind there, so you look at that as more of as a character, like, or like with the mask on, than you do when you're just like they're unmasked and just look like everyone else.
It doesn't make sense because you're coming back to like the next 2 weeks, and then, you know, you find out, oh, Callisto's still got his mask. You know, what's the point?
I know.
Oh yeah. Well, he's got 2 nostrils. Oh well, you know, he's got. It's just crazy. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, no,
he's got a face under that mask. It's mad.
He's actually human. He's not a machine.
He's not a fucking robot.
But yeah, what about you guys? Like any sort of other like low points in wrestling timelines, or like just things that you just bothered you, like history?
Yeah, one thing that pisses me off, and obviously they get permission that when Eddie died, they had Randy Orton out doing a promo and they bashed him. I know it's a character, I know it's storyline, I know they have to get permission. I'll run it past family members first. I just think it's distasteful. What I used to find uncomfortable was the bashing of Jim Ross a lot as well, regarding his operations and the way he looked.
Yeah.
It's basically, it is bullying, and but you're doing it on a platform where you're reaching out homes of so many million viewers in the US. But yeah, that's something I've always found a bit uncomfortable with, bashing the dead, so to speak. That soon after as well, just to get over in a feud, which with 2 wrestlers that you don't need to get over. Rey Mysterio was already over, and Orton was the arsehole he was portraying.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Yeah.
Talking about storylines and stuff like that, what's, you know, for a big low point for me with WWE was anything with the McMahons. You know, it's clearly a case of you know, I've got power to do this. I want in here. You know, of course, like you're going to look. You made yourself out to be this massive character with, you know, the match with, what was it, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels when he got gobbed in the face. You know, and then he turned that round for himself, understand it's business and stuff like that, and then he looks like a bad guy, and he wants like, oh well, why did he, like, you know, spit in my face and move over to WCW? Oh, like, let me build on that. But yeah, anything like that, and then, you know, he was talking about it, and when his missus was tied up in, you know, in the ring. Yeah, it's just untasteful. I don't understand it. I didn't get the point of it. Understandable, like, oh, you're an old man and you want to get with like some fit bird, but your missus being in the corner while you like your son's fighting against you, I didn't understand it. I don't know. I didn't see the reason behind it. There was no need for it. It's just clearly an abuse of power. Oh well, this will get in ratings because it's, you know, because it's stirring arguments up and it's stirring controversy and stuff like that. I just couldn't get my head around it.
Wrestlers that you can't stand that people absolutely love.
Oh,
I mean, there's many of them, but yeah. I mean, technically, someone's going to love someone and someone's going to, you know, dislike someone, but just maybe some of the main bigger names of like people that people absolutely loved at some point or still love and you can't stand. So I've kind of broke it down a little bit. Going back in the day, like I said, again, 80s, early 90s, Hulk Hogan, I'm a Warrior. Never really was interested in them. Even though, you know, there was like the larger than life characters, there was always kind of there for the people, like, you know, there were the faces and stuff like that. Just didn't care for their wrestling, didn't care for their, like, you know, character. Going a bit further down the line, people like Undertaker, even back in the day, never was really a fan of him, even like now. HBK, John Cena, Bret Hart, Randy Orton. Just, yeah, again, I mean, I know some people love them, some people hate them, but just, yeah, again, but big superstars that like always on TV and just like didn't care for them, just rather see someone else. What about you guys?
Sheamus, Hulk Hogan, Alberto Del Rio. Like,
Oh, yeah, but
he come in, got a push straight away, won the Rumble.
yeah.
And then you got guys like whoever have been there years and years and not even had a title shot. Stuff like that. It don't make sense. There's not too many that I think the people I dislike, I don't think many others like them anyway. I don't dislike Cena, but I get why he's important. Yeah, what about you, George?
You know, like, I just do not like HBK. I've heard so much stuff, not even just because of the way he's, you know, performed and stuff like that, and, you know, the chances he's been given, you know, he's out for injury, he's back. He's out for injury, he's back. Oh, let's make him trainer or some sort of producer on NXT. But, like, I've just heard other stuff about him, and I don't know if I just felt it when I was younger as well. I just took him personally, like, I didn't like him. You know, when you just get a feeling about someone.
Yeah.
Like, you get a word.
You're getting a word, and it's him, yeah. It's definitely him. But, you know, I can see it as well. I don't know if they're trying to reenact it in like Ziggler. I can kind of see him in him. Well, I don't know what it is, but I don't feel as bad about Ziggler as him. But yeah, but your HBKs, I feel like the likes of like Undertaker and Cena and stuff like that, they're being, you know, it's not that I don't like them, it's just the fact that they're the face of a company and they've used them as the face of the company for far too long and relied on them to, you know, draw numbers, whether it be like a weekly show or pay-per-view or anything like that.
Mm.
So it's not that I don't like them, it's just I feel like they're overused when, of course, you've got a whole roster of people that are just waiting for that chance to be a face of something.
But the weird thing about HBK as well, like as I said back early on, I loved the Rockers when I was younger. HBK, my genetic, like I loved them as a tag team. Yet again, I think because they were so like energetic and just like they put on good matches, you know, like seeing them come out of their tassels, their bright colours. But then after they kind of like falling out, maybe that just left a bad taste in my mouth. It's like you broke up one of my favourite tag teams, and just as like Shawn Michaels got pushed along, just again didn't care for him. Just always had saying like, "No, just not interested." But what's your thoughts on Kurt Angle? Because I know Kurt Angle's yet again another very like hit and miss. Like some people absolutely think he's amazing, love him, love his character, and some people just can't stand him.
I think he's a great wrestler.
He's definitely a great wrestler. Yeah, you can't doubt that.
I don't dislike him in the least. Like, actually forgot about one of his matches earlier from the earlier question. Him versus Shane McMahon in I think it was King of the Ring when he puts him through the glass panel.
Oh yeah.
That was a great match. It was brutal. I always liked Angle. Good guy or bad guy. But him during the invasion angle, him and Stone Cold were brilliant. They're so funny together. When Stone Cold was like this tough guy, but he was a bit of a sensitive guy as well. And he was always, they were piling off to Vince McMahon. They were great. They were funny. I like that Angle.
I like Angle, yeah.
Yeah. With Kurt Angle, I feel like he's he came, well, I was watching it on, what was it, that Broken Skull Sessions, literally the other day, because he was like on it last week, few weeks back. And yeah, he come in and he was looked at and he was picked out of just because he was a wrestling champ, like Olympic champ or whatever. And he was given that chance and just thrown into the company and basically said, look, there you go. And yeah, he's got this cocky swagger arrogance about him, but, you know, I don't feel the same way as what I do with Shawn Michaels' way. I don't dislike Kurt Angle, I could watch Kurt Angle
Yeah.
wrestle all day, and I could listen to him talk all day as well. You know, he's got that. He can just turn off heel and face at a
Yeah,
switch.
definitely, yeah.
And I feel like he is one of the greats that's not recognised as a great.
Man's the Olympic gold medalist, mate.
If you listen to Kurt Angle talk about his personal life, yeah, he's had some really bad crap happen to him. And then when I found that out, I was just like, oh, Christ, that's like another nail in the coffin. The guy's been through so much, but then he can still put on like one heck of a show.
I believe they used that story angle in TNA with him and Jeff Jarrett, wasn't it? And the missus, they kind of put that into a storyline with his personal life going on. And like, I mean, he still managed to kind of come through that sort of being professional in that sort of sense. But yeah, like that's another thing that's kind of a bit annoying when they use kind of personal stuff in, you know, storylines for wrestling kind of thing. Like, I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, it's their job, they're getting paid and they think it's going to make views. I suppose if they sign down on it, we might not know they sign off on it kind of thing. They work with it, but it must be kind of a struggle sometimes to get through that, like dealing with it outside of the ring and then having to deal with that shit inside of the ring as well. So, So next one I got is favorite gimmicks. So this could be, you know, people's characters or what they do in the ring. Like, you know, for example, I've written down a bunch of them, like a couple of favorites for me. Yeah, again, like Sting being one of my favorite wrestlers. He's sort of changed from being like what I call Billy Idol Sting into like Vigilante Sting with the old black and white face paint. I thought was a really good, obviously change of character, good gimmick. We've got as well Eddie Guerrero and Chavo, the Los Guerreros. I thought that was really cool with the lie we cheat we steal kind of thing. That was really buzzing. APA, the Acolytes Protection Agency with Farouk and Bradshaw. Yeah, again, just drinking, cards and fighting. I just thought that was really cool, just like mindless fun sort of thing. We also got Eric Young, another one of my favorite wrestlers that I think deserves more than he got. But when he was in TNA with his like over the top fucking beard going on and his craziness, doing the old tying up with people and just like, you know, wrestling women, wrestling referees, like that, absolutely a gimmick. I don't actually, it was just the one that Eric Young. I don't think there was anything specific about it. It's just that timeline with his going craziness was so good. Really like Finn Balor and the Demon King. I believe he called it the Demon King. I thought that was a really cool gimmick. They kind of buried that, you know, a few years back. But I thought that was really cool that it'd come out as Finn Balor. Then obviously if it'd be like a special event or something, or he needed to, you know, bring out the best in him, it'd come as a Demon King. White Family, I thought was another really good one. Definitely a good gimmick, good faction. And then probably one of the best ones, which I think we can all agree on, is Chris Jericho's The List, or The List Chris Jericho. Just such a good fucking pace, such good timing, just, you know, works so well. And even now he's still talked about. It's so good.
Well, he's managed to reinvent himself over and over, isn't he, Jericho?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
I was literally going to say, yeah, I don't think Jericho's really had like a bad run of characters. You know, he's always kind of he's like the Bowie of wrestling. He's always like brought himself. He's like, he's not going away. He's not gonna. Nothing's bland. Like nothing about him or any of his characters are bland. But yeah, the same. Basically the same things that you said. Like the White Family, I've like that was pretty like spooky and quirky. That I like that. I wouldn't say it's gimmicks, but like I'm always like any kind of high flying luchador or anything like that. I've like proper looked into like history of lucha and stuff like that. So like going back to like Blue Demon and El Santo and stuff like that. So that's always kind of interested me. So anything like lucha, anything kind of Mexican, Latino, anything like that.
Yeah,
I've always kind of been drawn more towards, just because it might be the same with you and you know, like the Rockers, like just big colourful people just jumping from the top turnbuckle, you know, just jumping from the top rope, somersaulting off the top of the cage and whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I did have was the Eugene.
Oh, Eugene. The Eugene gimmick.
Was it Eric Bischoff's nephew or something like that? And then I kind of remembered him because this was way back when I first started watching it as well. And I saw little bits of it and I was like, who's this like absolute potato of a man? But and then he was like pulling off other wrestlers' finishes and I was like, I thought that wasn't allowed for some reason. I just
Yeah,
didn't have it, because even though they call it something else, like you can call it switching music, but it's actually a super kick or something like that. But yeah, I didn't realize when I was like, 10, 11, I didn't realize, oh, you could just steal a stunner from someone. But there's Eugene doing it in his baseball shirt, like
yeah, definitely.
with his coat and like hair kind of like mine and a bit bigger.